I'll watch something fun and make a podcast episode on it. And then I'll take a potato chip and eat it. Welcome everybody, welcome to another episode of This Is Not What I Meant, a podcast where I talk about the subtext and history in different works of art, be it TV shows, movies, haven't done movies yet, books and general daily life events said in a way that accentuates their dark and not so dark but funny subtext. And there is a plane flying over my head right now. But anyway, I'm Anuti Badyal, your host, who freaks out over stuff, but kinda in a better way, so it is cool. And I'm cool enough to talk about anime, so let's do this. Growing up, I didn't watch as much Pokemon or Dragon Ball Z. मतलब वही legacy shows है ना, जितने भी anime watchers अभी हैं, तो इन सब लोगों ने ये shows देख रखे हैं, like Pokemon, Dragon Ball Z's, and yeah, that's it. That is what comes to my mind when I think about my childhood. And people were like, "अच्छा तूने Dragon Ball Z देखा?" And I'm like, नहीं देखा. I mean, I was a Cartoon Network kid, ठीक है? I mean, and this is where I take up any chance to promote my previous episodes. So please guys check out the Cartoon Network of Theories part 1 and 2, where I talk about the secret of Cartoon Network, as in उन्होंने क्या shows बनाए and how they have like slipped in different plots and subplots जो कि बच्चों के shows में नहीं होना चाहिए. But I guess if any adult is making a show for kids, they're gonna slip in something for the adults, I guess, to watch with their kids, because मन कुछ ज़्यादा ही अजीब हो जाएगा. I mean, is there any adult who watches Dora the Explorer with their kid? I mean, that is so lame. But anyway, I'm digressing from this. So let's talk about anime, right? So, and the only animes like which I watched at that time when I was a kid, I watched Doraemon, Ninja Hattori, maybe a bit of Shinchan, Kochikame. Oh, Kochikame, you guys remember, right? There was this police guy who had a unibrow, weird guy. That's all I remember from that show. It was fine. It was fun. I mean, blue color uniform thing, kind of like, yeah, it was fun. Yeah. So, that brings me to say this fact that yes, people, if you have watched Shinchan, you have seen anime. Malab, acha anime nahi, but Shinchan is an anime and you have seen it. So don't come at me and say like, okay, I haven't seen any anime. I'm like, when you get tipsy with your friends and you are gonna sing this, it's like, मैं किसी का सपना हूँ जो आज बन चुका हूँ सच, अब ये मेरा सपना है कि सबके सपने सच में करूँ. That is from Doraemon. I know that it's not from Shinchan, but सबके सपने सच में करूँ, that is like alliteration ka peak. This person has, achieved accomplishment in literary devices. Okay, anyway. So, definitely there existed a clear division between all of these shows and that of broadcasted on Cartoon Network, Pogo, Disney and other media houses. So, what is anime? Well, anime is hand-drawn and computer animation originating from Japan. In Japanese, anime, a term derived from the English word animation, describes all animated works, regardless of style or origin. Now, I'm gonna say that I picked this definition verbatim from Wikipedia, and that brings me to a throwback to my previous episode on The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I mean, how else would you frame a definition for anything? Because once a formal definition is there, you're not gonna put a spin to it in a passive voice or anything. Okay, I'm getting hung up on syntaxes. So you have animation that is from Japan that you call that anime. So outside of Japan, anime refers specifically to animation that is produced in Japan. जैसा भी इसका style हो, ठीक है? And definitely this style which is, broadly accepted as that of anime, has been accepted, has been adopted by a minority of, works produced in other countries as well. Now, iska ek example India mein, jiska main bol sakti hu, that is that beautiful version of Ramayana titled Ramayana, The Legend of Prince Rama, which came out in 1992. पहली बात तो ये मेरे को ये शौक कितना बड़ा हो गया कि ये मूवी 1992 में आई थी. I was like 2000 का एनिमेशन होगा, but oh my god, 92, and that is brilliant. Now here's something you might not know about this film. This film was made for the 40th anniversary of India-Japan diplomatic relations and was worked on by both teams in both the countries. I mean, major collaboration project. And it is directed and produced by Yugo Sako, a Japanese director. And you guys remember the Doordarshan version of Ramayana that, used to air? And abhi COVID ke time pe bhi, it aired in April. So Arun Govil, who played Ram in that version, also voiced the character in the animated version as well. And for a fun tidbit, I'm going to say that Bryan Cranston dubbed the English version. And then he went Breaking Bad. Okay, so Yugo Sako came to know about the story of Ramayana and then went on to read 10 different versions of Ramayana in Japanese as well. After reading the Ramayana, he wanted to adapt it into animation as he didn't think a live action movie could capture the true essence of Ramayana. And this is in his own words. Because Ram is God, I felt it was best to depict him in animation rather than by an actor. Yugo Sako wanted to remain true to the original epic, so he came to India and met with scholars, archaeologists, historians, and started working out on the details. During this time, he met Ram Mohan and collaborated with him on the film. Now, one of the things that I'm going to pick from what he said is that statement, best to depict him in animation. And that is the very basis of why people love to watch anime. I mean, and the very reason why you should as well. Because you can really capture a lot of things using animation, and it is much cheaper than doing it live action. And this comes as a perception change as well, in terms of, people thinking that animation is just for kids. And this is what Yugo Sako had to face in India as well. I mean, everybody I know loves the film, Ramayana, The Legend of Prince Rama. And, the entire process of storytelling gets such a marvelous spin itself with the storyboards using animation. And it includes the mood setting. And my god, Japanese anime has such amazing music. And it's such an art, manga, anime, that you see that if you put yourself in the shoes of, Yugo Sako, you might have, you are from Japan and you're thinking that, okay, animation, is a serious art form. And it is. And you come to India where you have, religion is a very big thing here. So a Japanese director who's coming to India and proposing that, yes, I would like to make the Ramayana into an animation. And I mean, you would face some flack for this idea. Primary point being raised that this is a serious story and it's not for animation. Saying that animation is a juvenile form of storytelling. I mean, that is what it would come across if you refuse someone that. And this is what Yugo Sako had to Yugo Saka. Oh my god, I've been saying his name wrong for all the entire time. Oh god. It's Yugo Saka. And this is what he had to face, right? So his response was that animation was a serious art form in Japan and it would help bring the Ramayana to a wider global audience, which it did. I mean, it definitely did. And even though a religious group had banned the production in India and they had to shift the entire production process to Japan, it still became very famous. And if people think about an animated film, it's so beautiful. And to think 92 mein banai gayi thi ye film. That is amazing. That is amazing. So how did this art form start and gain traction in Japan? I mean, if we're talking about anime, the history of anime. So filmmakers in early 20th century Japan started experimenting with animation techniques from France, Germany, Russia, and the US. I mean, if you come to think of it, every art form has its own journey, and every language, every culture, and every country in that sense, they try to make. I mean, everybody has been obsessed with the idea of moving pictures. You make live action movies, of course, it's easier to record, but then you make moving pictures, and then you make drawings, and then you have this whole motion picture that is containing a story, and you add music, and the art of telling a story visually is a very credited profession. So, I mean, they're experimenting in Japan with, different animation techniques from these countries, and so the earliest known anime was a private work by an unknown creator, and that was made in 1907. And it wasn't until 1917 when the first commercial anime still surviving, Namakura Gatana, came out. Namakura Gatana tells the story of a samurai who buys a blunt sword and tries it out by attacking an express messenger, only to be badly beaten by the messenger. And the film only lasts about 2 minutes. So Namakura Gatana in English means a blunt samurai sword. And released in 1917, it became the first commercial anime, as I said. And then by 1930s, anime फिर तो popular हो ही गया. So, about anime is that it is different from conventional animation due to the fact that Japanese creators, they were never bound by the 20th century convention that animation was something solely for children. I mean, anime is a broad medium, that ranges from purely innocent to the pornographic as well. Some of it fetishizes young girls. I mean, I'm going to talk about it. I don't know, that's a weird marketing. That's a cheap marketing technique that they do it, and I don't like that. Then that's my personal point of view, but that is wrong. So, in Japan, the manga, anime, video game, television, and media industries are all interrelated. Because you get into one of these things and you see, you go for script writing, you go for dubbing, all of these things are interrelated. You can see a popular manga character finding their way into a video game and anime and DVDs. Unlike American animation, Japanese animation is often made for adults, not for children. I mean, explaining why he liked anime, one American fan said, I mean, not to me, I'm getting this from an interview, So the person said that it's deep animation, right? Japanese anime, it's deep. I mean, the ones that are serious and they have a lot of emotions, a lot of adult parts. And the ones that are comedy are, just purely funny. I mean, Japanese have a very different sense of humor. Very physical, and very sarcastic as well. And it's fun to watch. And a spokesperson for the anime channel said, compared to American animation, which is produced to target younger age groups, Japanese anime features well-structured stories that are entertaining for adults. But definitely the real success, I mean, commercially, if you're gonna talk about it, outside of Japan, what made anime famous was definitely Astro Boy by Osamu Tezuka. So talking about the production is that, okay, so let's talk about the story first. Okay, what is Astro Boy? So Astro Boy is a science fiction series set in a futuristic world where robots coexist with humans. Now, you should keep this in mind that Astro Boy came out, the manga series came out in 1952. And this is the plot that they had. And I'm gonna say late 20th century and, even earlier 20th century, the fiction that has been there, they have okay, in 2000s, in 21st century, we're going to do this, we're going to have this. And we had COVID. Right, okay. But anyway. But definitely, I guess George Orwell was pretty much right in his book about 1984 that we're, slowly eradicating the freedom of speech. And here I am recording a podcast and saying that freedom of speech is eradicated. Tumultuous times. Okay, so the story follows Astro Boy, who is an android young boy with human emotions, who is created by Omataro Tenma. I'm seriously botching these pronunciations. Japanese names. Yeah, so he's created by this Omataro guy after the recent death of his son Tobio. Eventually, Astro is sold to a robot circus run by Hamig, but is saved from his servitude by Professor Okano Mizu. I hope I'm right in saying Okano Mizu. So, Astro Boy becomes a surrogate son to Okano Mizu, who creates a robotic family for Astro and helps him to live a normal life like an average human boy, while accompanying him on adventures. Okay, so that's why it's said that it's kind of like a reverse Pinocchio, because he's perfect in every sense of the word. And then he wants to become a real boy, real being, that he should have flaws. So when designing the characters, Tezuka, he paid homage to Walt Disney, his character of Mickey Mouse and Betty Boop. And the fact that anime characters have big eyes, like emotive eyes, is because he got inspired by Walt Disney. And I'm not saying that that's the basis of that, but there's this theory as well. And the fact that, eyes tell a lot of emotions. It's a cultural difference in the sense that, in Western culture, you express with your body, your mouth, you make, you have screams, people are more emotive through their body. But in Eastern culture, the fact is that you don't really say much or, let the other person know what you're thinking, but you communicate with your eyes. Okay. So, and the fact that anime characters have large eyes is generally attributed to Osamu Tezuka, and he is called the father of manga because he created Astro Boy. Yes, so the main reason is to convey emotions easier in anime. So the way animators could concentrate their efforts of the eyes when it came to showing emotions and didn't have to animate the stance or the pose of the character too much. So this is definitely cheaper, and it turned out to be a very effective method. And it was also faster to animate only the eyes and not focus too much on the rest. So, but money wasn't the only reason. Okay, so as I said, the Japanese culture, and in Eastern countries, people, they cover up their faces as to not show what they're thinking, and I guess that has to do a lot with the kind of society that we're raised in. They might not even react at all. Okay, this is seen as polite, that you're not gonna physically react to a situation if anything arises. And I'm gonna digress from this moment, talking about why anime characters have big eyes, to the fact that because of this cultural divide, you can actually see during the COVID time as well, because the kind of protests that were happening in America when people were told to wear masks was the fact that the sense of entitlement, the sense of entitlement, self-entitlement, and the fact promotion of your feelings, being open about them is encouraged there, and which is a good thing. But if this sense of entitlement goes above and beyond from the sense of community and a sense of species, this is what happens when a person then says that, okay, my right to get a haircut is more important than people surviving this virus, which we don't have a cure for. Now we do, but that's why things escalated there. And then you talk about India, people, they wore masks. Okay, people, we are told to wear masks, we'll just wear them. Not properly. Still, people are, that is different then. But they will, at least show that they're going to wear masks. So that is a fact that people don't react at all in much. I mean, but then again, the advent of social media, people have found this space of being anonymous, and they have definitely reacted, and that is weird. I mean, this kind of poison that came out during the quarantine. Okay, I have digressed, and now I'll come back. So, Japanese people, if they want to know what their opponent is feeling, they just look into their eyes, because emotions can't be masked easily in the eyes. So Japanese people are used to looking people in the eyes to read the emotion of others. So there's this proverb in Japanese which I can't pronounce. In English it means that the eyes are the window of the mind, or the eyes say more than the mouth. And This thinking also makes us consent to the trend of the large eyes in Japanese manga, because it makes up for any sounds or animation. You're reading a comic book, you're reading a pictorial picture, and reading a pictorial picture मतलब कुछ भी बोलना है ना. Like if you improvisation sucks sometimes when you get the grammar wrong on a sentence. Okay, so you're reading a comic book, right? And they want to make it more entertaining, so you just show the eyes. Yeah, and you can animate that very easily instead of adding more dialogues, or it makes up for a lot of stuff if you come to think of it, because you don't have to actually say those dialogues out loud. You don't have to actually say those dialogues out loud. You don't have to actually add another scene. You just show the person is pissed off, angry, or is shying away. So that is definitely the reason why anime characters have large eyes. And the fact that I'm talking about this too much is that, it is one of the essential signs that it is an anime. I mean, I identify anime from its characters because they literally have huge eyes. And I mean, they have different style of animation as well. As I said, that any kind of animation that is produced in Japan is called anime. But most of them have large eyes, and that is what I'm talking about. Right? So, yep. Osamu Tezuka, he did this, and, he wanted to emphasize greater expressions of characters. And his work then have become the basis for all of manga today, in spite of the fact that the way of drawing characters was also influenced from the West. A reason is not always the strong desire for Japanese towards Caucasians, but rather Japanese manga writers adopt the Western styles into their drawings, even though they don't have strong desires towards Caucasians. Okay, that is political. I should not add political stuff to my podcast, do I? Yeah, so that was basically basically a vague history of anime in my words. And now I want to talk about something that I think everybody has seen. And, okay, so Japanese have made it popular in the sense that it revolutionized animation as a serious form of storytelling. I want to talk about something, okay, if you have noticed this, you have to reach out to me and tell me that, okay, Anudeep, you're talking, yes, sahi baat hai, ekdam sahi baat boli hai tumne. Because the thing is that I'm going to talk about a little bit of architecture in their stuff, in anime especially. So, okay, so imagine a Japanese house. If I'm talking about Ninja Hattori, I'm talking about Doraemon, I'm talking about Death Note, even in this. I'm saying that, okay, so you are Light Yagami, right? And you're entering your house. What kind of house are you gonna see? I mean, you're Nobita, you're gonna enter your house. What kind of house are you gonna see? Because that is very standard in a lot of shows. Because you have, your door is to the right of the entire house. There's a staircase that goes to the left. And there is only one room on the first floor. And on the ground floor, you have a couple of rooms. And, the room that is to the back of the house has a paper kind of door. And I sound very uninformed when I say that there is a paper door and, you can break into it. And I do not know the purpose of having that. Okay, I think it has to do something with the kind of earthquake prone area that they live in. I should do more research for this podcast. I don't know why I don't. But yeah, so that is what I got hung up on the architecture. And even the house, even the path that you follow to reach the house has there is a 5 to 6 foot standard fence, and the houses are lined up against, and that's when I know that this show isn't set in Japan, because you see those kind of houses. They probably show the Tokyo Bridge as well, but yeah, that is how I know that I am in Japan. Okay, so if you're a long time listener, ठीक है, अच्छा मेरे को तो बड़ा टाइम हो गया ना खुद ही यहीं पे. मैं ऐसा बात करी long time listener. Okay, so if you're a long time listener, you already know what I'm going to talk about next. Abhi, ठीक है? And if this is your first time listening to This Is Not What I Meant, then this is the part where I'm just gonna shimmy through a bit of long running anime shows, primarily the ones that are not very sophisticated but still very popular among kids. And in the next episode, I'm gonna talk about my favorite anime shows. So I need to get over these kid shows. These kids, oh my god, okay, no. I'm gonna cut that out. Okay. So I'm gonna talk about a show like about a 5-year-old kid who just loves to annoy people. And yeah, I am talking about Shinosuke Nohara by Yoshito Usui. My fingers are crossed and I'm hoping that I pronounce that name right. Or as you might call Shinosuke Nohara as Shinchan. Now that is a fun theme song. Okay, so let's talk stats, right? So the manga series came out in 1990 and subsequently the anime came out in 1992. मेरा seriously mind fuck होए जा रहा है ये सोच के that the animation is so great even at that point. And then I'm like, there is Disney as well, Tom and Jerry. I think I used to think primitive time tha us time pe, but they definitely did amazing storytelling through animation at in late 20th century. So the show Shinchan has over 1,000 episodes, has 26 full-length movies, and has been dubbed in 30 languages, and it plays in 45 countries worldwide. Talking about India, it was a hit on Hungama TV, right? But of course, because of the content of the show, tumhe pata hi hai ki this kind of premise was not gonna sit well with the Indian parents. I mean, Shinchan is a kid who disrespects his parents, his tutor, and he kind of talks inappropriately to women who are way older than him. And hamare bachche nahi dekhenge show. Okay, so I'm gonna ban this shit. And that's what happened. So while it was released in India in 2006, it got off air in 2008 and was banned by Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. Can you guess what was it banned for? I mean, you would think okay, this is not a good influence for kids. Would be a reason to ban it if you could put it in lawful words. But no, this show was banned for heavy nudity. Okay, so yeah, Shinchan was banned in India for heavy nudity, and but then again, it was so popular with the kids. I mean, the Hindi dubbed version of Shinchan raked in almost 60% of total viewers of Hungama TV. And so after a lot of requests from the fans, the censorship board did some pretty heavy editing to remove the pretty heavy nudity. And the show was re-released for Indian audiences in 2009. And my sister was apparently one of those people who didn't want me to watch it, and so she didn't let me. So that is why I haven't seen much of Shinchan. I just know I have seen enough to know that he's a spoiled, inappropriate kid. But I guess there are some interesting theories as to why the show started, as to why Yoshito Usui, the creator of the manga series and the anime, there are a lot of theories as to that there was the kid called Shinosuke Nohara, and who, protected his sister from a car accident. And that is what theory says, that even Shinchan, the show, the original series that I'm talking about. So people, generally think that it must have ended like that they introduced Shinchan's sister in middle of the series, and people think, okay, that's how he must have died, that his sister must have caught in an accident and he's going to protect her. And yeah, so that you can't put a dark spin on any kind of show that is created. Yeah, I didn't watch it because apparently I could do without extra encouragement to be naughty. But I watched Doraemon, and Doraemon was so much fun. It was fun in the sense that, okay, so the premise of Doraemon. You have this robot who comes from the 22nd century. So, and he has this endless pocket, who has all these gadgets. So when I did the Cartoon Network of Theories episode, people were like, okay, do Doraemon, do all of these shows. And when I say people, I mean a couple of, just a couple of people, I'm not that famous, am I? No. Yeah, so I was told, okay, do Doraemon. And one of the things about Doraemon that I was discussed was that, that show gives us the wrong lessons. That, Nobita is such a useless kid. Such a helpless and useless kid that he doesn't want to work for anything and he wants the easy way out of any situation. But in the sense that even if he gets an easy way out of any situation, he messes it up still, because the messing up part comes from within and not because your situations are bad. If you want to get out of a messy situation, you'll work for it. And even if it's an easy situation, like not you haven't done your homework and, somehow you get something that, you get a pen that, you can ask it to do anything, write anything, and you're like, okay, do my homework. But you wouldn't abuse that power, because if greed comes from within and you're going to abuse that power, and that's what happens with Nobita in many of the episodes, that he gets some gadget and he's like, okay, oh my god, I can't control this power. And that is what happens. And Doraemon has to, always save his ass. Like, oh my god, एक काम नहीं से मैंने तेरे को दे तो दिया था सामान, तो मेरे को मतलब क्या है, तू मेरे को डिस्टर्ब करता रहता है, मैं अपनी गर्लफ्रेंड के साथ घूम रहा था. And that's a cat. Doraemon, why you're hanging out with the cat? But then again, Doraemon is a robot, so we can forgive him. I don't talk way too much about this. So yeah, that was about Doraemon. I'm not talking about any theories because there's so many. And okay, fine, I have to discuss this one because, so even in the manga, this information was shared that Doraemon was sent from the future from Nobita's grandson to help him not mess up for future generations, because he has messed up, and that is what Doraemon is there for. Doraemon is not a good robot, because that's what his grandson could afford. But he still thinks that there is hope, and Doraemon would protect Nobita from making mistakes in the future. In his future, Nobita's future. That means his past. So he'll change the future. Okay. Oh my god, Did X-Men steal the plot of... Did X-Men people steal the plot of X-Men Days of Future Past from Doraemon? Oh my god, that would have been... Oh, that is crazy. And that is crazy because Doraemon did at first, after, and okay. Now I have to get into this. Marvel writers, right? So yeah, Days of Future Past, basically. That's the plot. And how the show ends is that Doraemon somehow dies and Nobita, gets his ass on the line like, oh my god, I need to, be a responsible member of the society. I'm gonna bring Doraemon back. And he's like, overnight super smart ban jata hai wo. And finally, he marries Shizuka, and then he, is successful in making Doraemon again. And that is how he's able to, sustain in the society and become this big ass scientist. And that's how the show ends, I guess. Okay, so that wraps it up for this episode of This Is Not What I Meant, and this episode of anime. And I will be continuing this series, going into the animes that I watch right now, that I rewatch right now, because they're so awesome. Their storylines, the plot, the character development, the writing. Oh my god, the writing, and definitely the animation is amazing. And that is a bit on the nose since I'm talking about animation in the first place. And I will be talking about, different plots, because that is what is also amazing about anime shows, that they have interesting, like super interesting plots, and of course it comes from the manga, but as I said, they're pretty interrelated. And I will talk about Death Note. Of course, that is, I guess, the first show that anybody recommends to any first-time watcher, that you have to watch Death Note, because it's written so brilliantly, because everything is told to you, like what exposition is show mein, and they're like very clear about their rules in the show, and it's easy to follow, and it's such a chess game. And yeah, okay, I'll talk about it in the next episode, called Twice Upon an Anime. And definitely I did a bonus episode on Attack on Titan, where I watched the first episode and gave you guys my reaction on it. So an update on that is that I have so I watched till season 4 episode 8, which is the latest episode that has come out, and I watched first, second and third season as well, and it is amazing. And I will be talking about that, as well as to what my initial reaction was about the show and what it is now. So it's going to be interesting to listen. So yeah, keep listening to This Is Not What I Meant. I'm Anandi Badyal, and this was Once Upon an Anime.